Okay, we're just gonna free flow it today.
Let's do it.
No questions, no thoughts, just get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
We're gonna pretend this computer's on.
Okay.
Like we're busy working all day.
Okay.
Well, first of all, to our podcast. Cheers.
To our podcast. Cheers. The Kevin Hines podcast.
No, don't cheers to that. This is the Hinesights podcast, episode 128, with my dear friend Aziz Yousef, all the way from San Francisco. Cheers, Aziz.
Cheers.
To the Hinesights podcast.
The Hinesights podcast.
Yes, indeed. Oh. Aziz, how long has it been, my friend, since we've been in person?
Since we've been in person, when did you come to San Francisco for the...
Sorry, you have a long white hair on the top of your head.
Oh, where did that come
That's
from?
That's insane.
Oh, man.
Is this from your head?
From my chest.
That's crazy. That's not, what the hell? Let's get rid of that. Jesus Christ. That's a way to start off the podcast.
That's a way to start the show.
Pubic hairs on his head. I'm kidding. It's a chest hair. Look at this guy. Look at those chest hairs. Bringing out the chest hair. Okay, back to the story at hand, Aziz.
I want to say
how long has it been?
Since 2018 or 2019. It was before COVID, of course.
Pre-COVID. Let's straight up. COVID. All right, we'll bleep that out.
When were you out in San Francisco for the beginning when you were starting to work on the movie?
When we
you already started it.
We started working on the net in 2000. First I began working on it in 2014. Couldn't get any traction. Began working on it again in 2019.
So it's 2019.
2019.
Last year we went. I remember, never forget it, because you called me, said you were coming in town, and
wasn't I already in town when I called you?
Or you were already in town. I took you to the airport. Yeah, so you were already in town. Yeah. I picked you up from somewhere because you were like in Atherton, or you were somewhere in
the East Bay.
East Bay, maybe, or something. Like that.
I was in
Orinda?
No. Not Marin. Yeah, Marin.
Okay, so you're north. Okay, so I remember I picked you up from somewhere, and we went.
You picked me up from where we were filming.
That's where I was. And so I picked you up from there.
The big house we were filming.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. And then I remember we took you. We came back to San Francisco together, right? Or you were in the city, something like that. And then we went to an open mic. And I had a set.
Comedy show.
An open mic set.
Mr. Comedian over here.
Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, so we did my open mic set.
Don't let the dream die.
We had an open mic set, and then you had a flight the next day. We came to my apartment. And you spent the night with us. We hung out, and then
and you know, if we're gonna get into it, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I was so unwell.
You were all over that. You told me right off the bat. You were all over the place.
I was having hallucinations all day, every day.
You warned us that if you scream in the middle of the night, not to be alarmed.
Yeah. Did I?
No, you didn't. If you did, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so I screamed in my head. So let's break it down just for the folks who don't know what was going on back then. So. This is Aziz Yousef, one of my dearest friends. He was a groomsman in Margaret and I's wedding. And this man truly means the world to me. And so does his lovely bride, MoNique. Hi, MoNique. We love you.
Hi, MoNique.
But back in 2019, right before I went into my 10th psych ward stay for suicidal crisis, it was 10 of 10. Right before that happened, I went out to San Francisco to film parts of our documentary, The Net, and I was very unwell, dealing with a lot of mania. The mania had lasted the better part of 2 years. I was dealing with what was healing, but I was dealing with burns on my skin caused by one of my medications. It was a brutal time. And I was hallucinating all day throughout the day, things that nobody else could see or hear. In particular, when I stayed with Aziz and his lovely wife, MoNique, I was having, and this is hard to talk about, but hallucinations of demons attacking me at night. Every night I'd try to go to sleep. I would not sleep. I would fall into a sleep kind of paralysis, what they call sleep paralysis, where I would see things and feel things that seemed to be in our reality, but that nobody else could see or hear, and they would physically attack me. And I never thought in my life that physical hallucinations were a thing. I thought that's only shit you see in the movies. But when it occurs to you in real life, you get to know it pretty quick. And these physical feeling hallucinations, you know, when whatever's attacking you physically assaults you, you feel like you're being gutted, shot, stabbed, whatever it is. And it's visceral, it's palpable, it's very scary. And I think it's something that not a lot of people really talk about because of the fear of what other people will think about them. I'm over that bullshit. Let me tell you what it was like. Because there are a lot of people in this world who live with sleep paralysis or other sleep like insomnia or narcolepsy or parasomnia, all these types of things. I was living with all 5 sleep disorders simultaneously, and I was a mess. I hadn't slept in the better part of 2 years, minimal, maybe 2 hours a night, maybe 1 hour a night. And when you don't sleep for that long, you live with severe hallucinations by themselves. Add that to psychosis from bipolar depression, which I have. It's just absolute pandemonium. And for the people that fear talking out about what they're seeing and feeling, don't. Find a trusted friend, an ally, a good buddy, your wife, your fiance, your loved one, a family, a friend, a doctor, all of the above, a clergy person. Find someone to tell your truth to, because keeping that stuff inside, it's too much for anybody, really. So I was very vocal about it, and I am today, but it was vicious. And I went to that in your house. I'll never forget it. The things I saw and heard and felt were awful, but it wasn't in this reality. And it was something that was only occurring to me. What did you think what were your thoughts when I told you about this stuff? Like, did you think I was just crazy? What did you think?
No, not at all. I already know your situation and your conditions, and I remember when you got checked, you had to get checked back into the psych ward on Bush and Hyde. I remember I tried to go visit you that day, and I saw you in the hallway in the psych ward, which, by the way, is not easy to get to. You got to go through way different levels of security to get to the psych ward than you would to go visit someone else. And as soon as I got there, you had a breakdown at that point, and you couldn't have guessed. And I saw Marge in the back there with you. So I remember I just texted you. And you did respond later on. You when you were able to, you said thanks for trying to come see me, And I was like, don't, you said I'm sorry. I was like, it's all right, man. You know what I mean? So I already knowing your situation, the last thing I would do is not believe you or judge you and say that, oh, this guy's crazy. I always said was, let us know what we could do, if there's anything we can do to help out while you're here. And I remember the good thing about it is you slept through your alarm that day. So you did get some sleep eventually. Oh,
thank goodness.
Yeah, you did. Because I remember Mo and I woke up, I don't remember the time, maybe 7-ish. And I remember we needed to get you to the airport by 7:30. You had, I don't know, but we didn't hear you anything screaming. And you said you think you might have actually slept like 4 hours or something like that. You might have actually got a good amount of sleep. I think the energy, we have good energy together. We love you.
Have good energy.
Yeah, and I think that helped you.
I got to rest a little
bit. You got to rest on our nice IKEA sofa bed. It was, you're the second person to ever sleep on that couch.
There you go.
We got rid of it. Yeah. But it was good. It was an interesting experience. And then just a side note, because you told us you were manic, but you hung in there. We went to the open mic. You had a good time. You laughed. You got to meet some new people. And then the funniest thing is when I woke you up, you were like so surprised that you had overslept because you haven't been sleeping. I haven't been sleeping. And then I had gotten you I was like, do you want to shower? What do you want to do? You're like, I don't think I have time. And I had set up a towel for you. And this is something we laugh about all the time. We always have a towel on the bathroom counter that we just dry the counter with. It's for working in the restaurant business. And I was like, no, here's your towel, but you grabbed that towel and kept drying your face with it. But it wasn't a dirty towel, but it had oil from the oil burner that we used to make the
that's why my skin is so clear.
It's so clear.
It's the oil.
And he said, oh my God, this towel smells so good because it was really good smelling oil. And I was like, I'm glad you liked the towel.
Oh, that's Tell me the story.
I didn't.
You son of a bitch.
I didn't want to put you on the spot. I was like, that's all right. Because like I said, it's not a dirty towel. It's just wiping off water off the sink.
Yeah,
it's
put food oil all over your face.
No, not food oil. Scented oil.
Oh,
yeah, that's why it smelled so good. It was like Bed Bath and Body Work oil. You were like, it was a good smelling oil, yeah. Right. And we got you to the airport on time.
There we go.
And I remember I talked to you a couple days after that, and you were getting a little bit better, I think. And then the last time after that we touched base, you were much better. You stopped having those bad dreams, and you stopped having those hallucinations.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hallelujah, this is good.
It was a long run of being unwell, and I don't know how Margaret dealt with any of it, because boy.
In the words of your father at your wedding, Margie is a godsend. I'll never forget that. He said, Margie, you're a godsend. You've helped Kevin out in so many ways. And I'll never forget that day. You know what I mean? Like when you guys got married, it was a beautiful ceremony. I got married at City Hall in the suit that you had us buy for your wedding as groomsmen. So that suit has gotten more wears than any suit that I have, man. It's my go-to when I want to look extra sharp. It's a pinstripe three-piece. Yeah,
black,
it's a nice
black suit, white pinstripe.
Yeah, good quality make, good color, burgundy,
red, pocket square.
So so it was, and I still have the tie. I wore the tie.
I don't even have the tie.
I still have the tie. I wore it for the first time like a few months ago when I wore the suit. I was like, oh, this is the tie that Kevin gave. And I went back and looked through an old picture. I was like, that's it. That's the tie. That's the tie that we had. Yeah. Yeah, so it means a lot to me, brother, and I love you too, man. No, so it was like I was just glad to be there for you. I was glad.
I'm tearing up here because I'm tearing up because
take your time. It's a lot, man.
I try not to get stuck in the past too often, but I have put Margaret through a lot. So, having paranoid delusions where you believe people are out to get you, trying to hurt you, trying to kill you. Having hallucinations that giant metallic spiders are crawling across the ceiling to eat you alive. Some people wouldn't understand that I wasn't doing it willingly. I was in the midst of psychosis or mania. And I'm not using this as a crutch, because I know what that is. I was gone. I was not on this realm, in my brain. And hearing voices, seeing things that don't exist to anyone but you, feeling that actually happening while you feel like you're awake, that would get anybody down. And but I do want to say this. I take responsibility for my actions during that time and the many times I've been psychotic over the last 23 years with my family, with my friends. And there have been lots of times where it's been very difficult for a lot of people to be around me or near me or by my side. But I have to say, my support network is strong. And what I'm trying to point out here is, Margaret, I love you. You're a gift from the heavens above. You have helped save my life on more times than I could count on my hands and my toes. And I love you with every fiber of my being. And God bless you, because not every spouse could deal with shit like this. God bless. Solid. Uncle Kevin would have said that.
Oh yeah,
that was his thing.
That was his word. He
would say, let's go on a tangent here. My Uncle Kevin Joseph Ryan. My dad's middle name is Kevin, and we're named after Kevin Joseph Ryan. He was the patriarch of the family, and he was an old Sunset San Franciscan Irishman. He was tough as nails, a union man, local 856, and he's a tough son of a bitch. But when he met someone he liked, he would pull you aside and he would say, she's solid. Just like that, like a fucking gangster.
I love it.
She's solid.
You're solid.
She's solid.
Oh.
And if you got the he's or she's solid from Uncle Kevin, you were in, buddy. Uncle Kevin, may you rest in peace.
I remember when you brought him to the coffee shop to Moonlight.
I did. He really enjoyed the food. He's a foodie. That's what Uncle Kevin's a foodie.
And just a sweet, genuinely good guy, man. He was just. I remember he was telling us stories about old San Francisco. He was just talking to us a lot. And St. Kevin's Church next door. He was happy. Oh, it's St. Kevin's Church. I love that name. Yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to have gotten to meet him a couple of times. Thankfully, he was amazing guy. Super
wonderful,
cool, man. Yeah.
And you met my dad at the bachelor party.
I met your dad at the bachelor.
It wasn't a party. We went to the PU club. We smoked cigars. I have asthma. I didn't smoke the cigar. The wedding guy didn't smoke the cigar. The guys getting married, the groom didn't smoke the cigar. But everybody else did. And I was dying in that room because I could barely breathe. But you guys had fun.
It was a great night.
It was a great night. That was a good night.
I'll never forget that night.
It was a good night. We had a good time. So I've got a story I'd like to hear from you.
Let's do it.
How did we meet?
We met in Deborah Shaw's acting class at City
Shaw.
College. Deborah, I hope you
watch. Acting teacher extraordinaire.
She was amazing.
Cheers to Deborah.
Cheers to Deborah.
Boom.
Boom. I believe this was what, 07 maybe?
Boom.
Boom.
There we go.
I think it was 07. I believe it had to be around 2006, 2007.
2007,
2006 even, maybe.
2006.
Because I met you before I met some of my Arabic friends in another acting class. It might have even been 2005. Honestly, it might have even been 05. Yeah, it was a.
That's probably when I met Dwight as well. So that makes sense.
So it might have been the same time. Yeah. And I never forget. The first thing was monologues, and I remember I had like an emotional monologue. Like I think it was like a child.
Wasn't it acting for the camera?
I think it was acting for the camera.
Acting for the camera.
And my monologue was like.
That's why we look so handsome now.
We're so good on camera.
We're so prepared.
So prepared.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
We have to send this to her.
Please do. We have to. Yeah. But I think that's why I had like an emotional monologue. Like I was like my father beat me, or I was like something like that wasn't good, right? But then your monologue was hilarious, and it was about a group of people driving a car down the street on mushrooms, and nobody knew who was driving. I remember the punchline was something like not Margaret, it was like Maggie or somebody. The name like looked at me when I said, "Who's driving?" And then we all looked at each other, and we're 4 humans in a metal box rolling down the street, and no one knows who's driving, or something like that. And it was hilarious.
Oh my god!
And you made it so freaking funny. And you was like, one person said this, one person said that. Oh, these mushrooms are really good. You're like, by the way, who's driving?
Deborah, tell me you still have the footage.
Oh man,
I want to see this.
I think I know.
You gotta drop this on my IG.
It was so funny. That was like one of my earliest memories of you. And then I remember I give you rides home sometimes, so I drop you off at Marge's place in North Beach. So we would hang out that way, and then that was. And then I think we had another. I think you stayed at City College for another semester. I can't remember, but that was our in. Like we just became friends, and we always stayed in touch. And
we hung out a lot.
We hung out a lot more back then. Yeah, we did. We went to lunch more often. I mean, I was like, especially at my work schedule, I had the weekdays off.
I feel like our thing was bagels. We ate a lot of
bagels and sandwiches. We would go meet up for. Remember you took me to
Subcenter.
Subcenter was one of them, and then
Roxy's.
Roxy's was one of them, and then you took me to another one in West Portal, I think. They had like a unique with Doritos on the chicken salad sandwich.
There was a competitor.
Yes.
Arose right up next to Subcenter sandwiches.
They didn't survive though.
They didn't survive.
Yeah. Well, you can't beat Subcenter. That's classic, man.
Who do you think?
Who do you think? But it was. I have to say, it was a very good chicken salad sandwich.
It was.
I'll never forget it because they put Dorito chips in the sandwich, and I was like, "This is unique.
Yeah,
I like this. Yeah."
I feel like I admitted that when I was 5.
You probably did.
Yeah,
you probably did. I give that to Kevin.
Just saying.
We had a good time. We saw a lot of movies.
We did. We saw some movies. Definitely saw some movies.
I don't remember which ones we saw.
I don't remember what movies.
Can you think of one?
No, I can't remember the last movie I saw in the movie theater. Honestly, I watch a movie and then I forget which one I watched.
Here's a funny story. I went to see the Titanic alone before I met Margaret. I went to see the Titanic alone. That's not a movie you go to see alone.
No, it's not.
Very depressing. I don't know why I did that. Everybody in my family is like, why are you going to see this movie by yourself? You know it sinks, right? It's like everyone's going to die. I was like, I got this. And I went to see the Titanic alone. I sat down next to a young lady my age, and I think we made out the entire movie. Missed the whole movie, yeah. So it was good.
It could have been worse. Man.
It was good. I went alone. That was the olden Kevin. You know, that was probably pre-psychosis, pre-mental illness. But anyway, okay. So we met at City College. We had Deborah's acting class together. What's one of your Well, you choose one of your fondest or funniest memories of hanging out with your good old buddy Kev.
Oh man, can we do both?
Yeah, do both. So start with fondest, then go to funniest.
Fondest is when you asked me to be in your wedding.
Oh, buddy.
And when I was in your wedding, that was an honor, and it was great to meet your friends. And who, by the way, I remember, which one is it? Greg?
Greg Hardiman.
He came to Moonlight a couple times with his crew for lunch randomly.
Hell yeah.
He didn't recognize me. I recognized him, and then remembered me when I told him. And then the second time, he's like, Aziz, what's up? It's good to see you. Nice. Super cool guy. Who was it? Ben? I ran into Ben.
Greg is also a union man.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, he's in there.
And then Ben, what was it? I think Ben, electrician.
Ben O'Leary, electrician. Now a firefighter. Yeah,
there you go.
He's incredible.
I ran into him at
He's got 3 beautiful babies. Hi, Ben. Hi, Greg.
Ben, what's
we
up,
love you guys too.
I remember I ran into him at Tornado once, having some beers.
Okay.
But no, that was my fondest.
Did you ever see Louis again, Jake?
He was when he was SFPD. He would come into Moonlight all the time. He was our beat patrol.
Did you ever see Arthur?
No, I have not seen. I only saw Arthur once at an event. I think at one of the showings of the net.
The first
one.
Suicide Ripple
Suicide
Effect.
Ripple
Yeah.
Effect. That's what it was. Yeah. I saw Art then. Yeah.
Arthur Klein is an artist. He makes art for video games. He designs video games and short movies, things like that. He's an incredible artist. And he's got, I think, 2 or 3 kids. Two kids now. Man. Yeah, big. They're getting big.
Guys, shout out to all you guys.
Yeah. We had a good crew.
No, it was a fun time. It was
all right, so that's the fondest of being in the wedding.
And then one of my funniest memories, there's a couple of them, but this is the funniest one. And I think you might even know what it is. I didn't know you at the time. This was when you were in school, but I remember hearing the story and I laugh every time when the guys, Jake and everyone, convince you that Wolverine's metal adamantium was real.
Hold on. Let's hold on. Yeah. So, as you can tell by this room we're in, this podcasting room, here, hold up that K. Hold that K to that camera. Push it forward. That is all Marvel characters in the K of my name, Kevin. All right, this is Wolverine. If you don't know him, he's Logan. Logan is Wolverine, and he's got adamantium claws that come out of his wrists. I don't know how they come out of his wrists all the way. You know, when you turn your wrist, it would just come out of the side. It's not very ergonomically correct, or what's the word? What's that damn word? Anatomically correct. That's the word. Yeah. It's not very anatomically correct because if he was doing this, they'd come out great. But if he does that, it's going to come out the side. Anyway, I'm just saying, point of reference, Marvel. But anyway, but I still love him. One of my favorite characters. So we were in science class. You weren't there. But
no.
Jake, Louis, Arthur, Ben, everyone was in science class. Mr. McGinnis was our science teacher. May he rest in peace. Jake turned to me and said, Kevin, you know, you ought to advocate that they put adamantium on the periodic table. And you see, the periodic table was in the front of the class, right on the wall. I was 16. You ought to advocate that they put adamantium on the periodic table. I said, Jake, adamantium is not real. It's in the comic book. I said, no, Kevin, it's very real. They just discovered it. Shut up. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I'm just
on my podcast.
It's so funny.
Shut up.
I love it.
He said, adamantium is real. They've just announced it. It's legitimate. They found it. It's got to be put on the periodic table as an element. It's the hardest metal known to man. It's harder than diamonds. He said, it's harder than diamonds. I believed him. So I start yelling at Mr. McGinnis. Mr. McGinnis! Mr. McGinnis! Yes, Kevin, what? Adamantium is real, and they need to put it on the periodic table. Kevin, sit down. Stop yelling in class. That's ridiculous. Mr. McGinnis! It's real! We have to put adamantium on the periodic table, and you as a scientist have to advocate for it. And I just lost it.
Oh, my God.
And he said, Kevin, you have a demerit. Go to the principal's office. So I had to go to the dean's office. And the dean at the time was Mr. Vittorio Anastasio, who was my wrestling coach. And I was a good wrestler. I went 20-6 that year. That's a great
nice.
I won the WCL championship as on a JV level. And I go into Mr. Anastasio's office, and he goes, Kevin, what are you doing? Cut Mr. McGinnis a break. And what's this about adamantium being real? You know, and I'm like, Mr. Anastasio, it's real. And they sent me home. Anyway.
Oh, man.
You know.
But that I've heard that when Jake tells that
story.
Jake,
yeah. They used to call me Mr. Gullible.
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
Kevin was gullible. And this is the thing. When Jake tells you, Louis is so convincing.
Even the least gullible person will believe
Even the
him, right?
least gullible person will be like, is that, I feel like that could make sense. And he's so well versed in history and science and arts. Like he reads a lot. He dives into different topics. So you believe like, oh, he knows what he's talking about.
He can back it up.
So I used to do this thing called Listen to Jake. Listen to Jake. Or listen to Louis. I call him Louis because last name's Lewis. And so to fast forward a little bit, I meet Margaret. We start dating. Our first date was October 22nd, 2004. And she met me in a psych ward. She gave me a shot anyway. And I go to Jake. I go, Jake, I want to ask Margaret to marry me. This is like half a year into dating her. And he goes, oh, Kevin, you have to wait until you move in. And you have to wait until you've dated for 2 years. Exactly. And Kevin, on your 2-year dating anniversary, that's when you can ask her to marry you. So here I am waiting all this fucking time. And here's Margaret in our apartment going, when is he going to ask me to marry him? Because it's been hella long. And so on our dating anniversary to the T, I went over to Phil Cunningham's birthday party, and he's another good friend of ours, and Chris Cunningham. And I went over to Phil Cunningham's birthday party. And the problem was I asked Phil to let me know when it was 30 minutes to 12, 11:30, because I wanted to be home at 12:01 for the first minute of the day of our anniversary to ask her to marry me on the first minute of that day.
Okay.
I wanted it to be like special. Or so I thought. And all I had was the rock. I didn't have the ring because I knew she'd want to change the settings. So
Okay.
I just get the rock. That sounds like a film title. Get the rock. Starring Dwayne Johnson, who's also, look at this. So apropos, he's right here.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. And so I end up, it's like 12:30. And I look at my watch and shit, you guys, nobody let me know when it was half an hour to 12, it was 11:30. Everyone's like, yeah, you fucking idiot, we're drunk. What did you think was going to happen? You don't drink. Why did you even come to this party?
Why did you trust us to do
Why
this?
did you trust us to do this? So I didn't realize I didn't have my inhaler, my
Emergency inhaler?
emergency asthma inhaler. I didn't realize it was at home. I thought I had it with me. So I don't have it with me, and I'm sprinting back to our house, our apartment, as fast as I can, having a violent asthma attack on the way there.
Oh, no.
But I got to get there now because I got to first take my breather, then I got to ask Margaret to marry me. Late. And I had no plan. There was no romantic plan. It was horribly orchestrated. And I burst in the door, run upstairs, burst in our door, take my inhaler, and I'm huffing and puffing. I get to the door of the bedroom. Margaret. She jumps out of bed. She goes, "What, Kevin, is there a fire?" I was like, sound asleep in REM sleep and REM sleep, and I totally wrote it. No, there's no fire. There's no fire. Kevin, it's 1 a.m. What do you want? What's wrong with you? Nothing more. I need you to come into the computer room. I'll pop in my head in a moment. I need you to come into the computer room. What? The computer room? Why do I need to come into the computer? Kevin, go back. Go to sleep. It's late. Go to sleep. We have to go to sleep. I'm so tired. I have work tomorrow. No, Margaret, we have to go. I need you to come. I have to show you something on the computer.
At 1 a.m.
At 1 a.m. And she says, "Oh, God. Oh, fine. Okay." So I drag her out there. We get to it was kind of like the living room area, the dining room was there, and the computer was in a cabinet, And she said, I opened the cabinet. She said, "Kevin, the computer's not even on. What is wrong with you? What are you doing?" And then I turned around, got down on one knee, and said, "Margaret, will you do me the honor of..." And she goes, No, not like this. Not like this. This cannot happen like this. Absolutely not. No. Kevin, go to sleep. And she goes, "No." And we go lay down. And I've got this rock in my hand. It's the title of another movie with the rock. A rock in the hand is better than two birds in the... Anyway, never mind. And so she goes, she fell fast asleep. What am I going to do? She's going to wake up and say, "No, it's over. We're not getting married. What have I done? It was a horrible proposal." I didn't sleep a wink.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just gripping this thing in my hand. Gripping the rock. Third title.
Gripping the rock.
Sorry, DJ.
And she wakes up, opens her eyes, turns over, and goes, "Yes."
She probably realized, when am I going to make this guy do this again? I might as well just say yeah now.
It was horrible. Like, what was I thinking? Like, get there at 12:01 in the morning when she's sound asleep and wake her out of slumber and ask her the most important question you've ever asked her before?
I think your heart in the right
My
place.
heart was in the right. Thank you.
Your
Aziz.
heart was in the right
Thank
place.
you, Aziz.
Your thought process is also in the right place because you're thinking it's special and it's the anniversary. And I just think you forgot about the fact that she'd be sleeping at midnight. And had your friends told you, maybe you got there a little earlier.
And I put the rock down.
That's the fourth time.
On the end table. That's all. I'll stop there. All right, I killed that joke.
I love it.
I killed that joke.
Oh, that's a sweet. That's adorable though, man. And it's funny because I know Mark, how she talks.
You know her. You can imagine, right?
No, Kevin, no.
Not like this. Not like this. But here's the thing. You can judge any which way you want of how we met in the psych ward or how we got married. But here's the bottom line. We've been together for 20 years together, 17 years married last year. This year.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Strong.
That's incredible. And we're going for at least 85 more years.
Oh, yeah.
That's the plan.
Oh, yeah.
87 if we're lucky. You know.
Keep it going. No, you guys are great, man. You guys are great.
Tell me about how you met MoNique.
I met MoNique in Bernal Heights. She was the manager of a gift shop down the street. It was called Heartfelt. And my family owned Moonlight Cafe. We just sold it this year. And so, yeah, she would come in and get coffee. And apparently she liked me and thought I was cute. And I didn't realize she was hitting on me like 2 years before or 3 years before.
I can see that.
Her out. I was 21, I think.
Aziz is a bit oblivious when it comes to these things. I've seen this before.
I was just like, oh, I didn't even. And then so fast forward to 3 years later, or about 3 years after that.
She kept coming for 3 years?
Well, she would come off and on, you know what I mean? But she started coming more often as I got older, too.
Yeah.
I think she was like,
well, you got handsomer when you got older.
I think so. The balder I got, the better looking I got
Yeah,
somehow.
it's true. It happens to us all.
Happens to us all, right? But so she would, eventually I realized that maybe she likes, I noticed she would smile at me a certain way. So I would just talk to her, make her coffee, and chat with her. She'd come in for lunch sometime. And then I remember the one day that I was going to ask her, I chickened out when she came in, of course, right? And then I said, oh, man, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm closing. I'm here till 6 o'clock. If I see her walk by at night, I'm going to call her over and ask her.
Come on, you
somewhere.
can do it.
And then the funniest thing is she thought she goes, I'm going to walk by there.
One more time.
She was good because she still was working.
This motherfucker doesn't ask me out for 3 years. I'm done.
She goes, if I see him, I'm going to go talk to him and ask him because she wanted me to ask her.
That's awesome.
So I beat her to it, but it just happened to be I was cleaning something and I looked up and she was there. 2 seconds before she wasn't, 2 seconds she was.
That's called,
I was like, hey, and I waved her.
That's called destiny.
It is, yeah.
That's
and then I asked her out and she asked me to a specific event. I know it was short notice. It was that night, I think, for a friend of mine's party. And she goes, no, I know that's I can't, but she goes, I'd love to some other time. Yeah. So we went out on February 4th, 2010. And that was the first
and you
date.
Are you together in 2010?
So don't feel bad. Well, I didn't ask her to marry me until 13 years in. Yeah, so don't feel bad, Kev.
13 years?
13 years before
You didn't follow Jake's rule.
I didn't follow. I waited. I followed Jack's rule, but I multiplied it a few times. I did everything else, though. I lived on my own, and then we lived together before I asked her. So I lived on my own for about a year and a half, and then we moved in together, too. So I even did another step of Jake's rule. Yeah, so I did the Jake philosophy, but I multiplied it a little bit.
Louis' wisdom.
Louis' wisdom, yes.
Listen to Louis.
Listen
every
to Louis.
time.
But yeah, that's how we met, and I feel like.
Wait, hold on. By the way, if you meet Jake Lewis, and he tells you something that you have to do is very important, for the love of God, don't listen to Louis. Adamantium is not real. Okay? If you're in love with your fiance, your girlfriend, and you want to spend the rest of your life with her, put a ring on. Quit pussyfooting around. Okay?
Just do it.
Get to it.
Just do it.
Anyway, so I'd like to kind of change topics a bit.
Let's do it.
This might be a tougher, you tell me, tougher topic to talk about, but I think we need to transition here. This is a podcast about triumphing over adversity and about overcoming struggles and strife. I'd love if you'd be willing, and no pressure here. If you don't want to get into it, we don't have to. You're my friend. But was there any aspect of owning a restaurant that affected your mental health?
Oh yeah, I mean, because I work.
Could you tell us a story about
Yeah, because I work with my father and we definitely didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it started affecting me to the point of mental health more recently, which is why we decided to sell the shop. It's you can only lead a horse to water, right? So like no matter how many times I would try to bring something new to the table to help us make more money, to do this and do that, it never went through. So I gave up eventually. Yeah. And then after that, giving up on asking new things, noticing COVID happened, that made things really difficult. We always would bounce back though. We had a great neighborhood. Like we're very fortunate for that. We'd always come back from things like that. So we were okay. But then business still never bounced back. And then again, part of it's like, you got to do something. You can't just sit there.
You can't stay stagnant.
Yeah, you have to change with the times. That's when, even MoNique will tell. There's times I'd be very irritated and very upset more often, than I normally would be.
Which then affects her or anybody.
Anyone around, yeah. Because then I would say something that I didn't mean or say something in a rude way. And I had to say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm just really stressed out. I'm just really frustrated right now. It's just sitting in the same, I need growth. I need some change, and I didn't see it happening. So I think it definitely affects mental health. It definitely affects how you feel. I definitely felt less motivated to do things than I would normally feel. I'm going to not clean up after myself now. I'm going to do it later, as opposed to normally I would right away go do it, feeling just like, I just don't want to do anything. I just don't want to do anything. I don't know if I could say I was like super severely depressed or anything like that, but I definitely felt not like myself, and I've seen people in the last few months that know me well enough from the shop, that saw me in my way I am during, before, and then towards the end, they feel like I am more like I was before, little not just something they can tell, even though they don't know me and I didn't interact with them that way. I guess it showed a little bit. It was also just a double-edged sword, because I do love the neighborhood and the community and those people.
And you love your dad.
I love my dad, of course, my family. Like I gave them an option too. I didn't just say, hey, I want to sell, because the place has been in my name since 2010. So I gave them the option of, you pay me out a reasonable share, and you take it, put it back in your name, and you run it by yourself, or we can sell it, because I don't want to do this anymore.
Did it break his heart?
I think it didn't break his heart, but it definitely, he himself was getting irritated, and he himself, I think, was tired of working there. But because we didn't have enough staff and help, and we can't afford to hire a manager, right? He had no choice but to keep doing what he was doing. So I think as much as it was sad, because I know we both cried when we decided 100%. Like I know he cried a couple of times being there our last few months there, but I think we did the best move, because he wouldn't be happy staying there by himself. He would only be more stressed out. So I really think that me bringing the subject up to him and letting him know how I felt and giving him the option also freed him a little bit. He did, because now he can go and open up something on his own that's small, that's got low overhead, that he can really make some money on. And if he does it properly, he can hire someone and he can retire and keep the business.
And he'll be successful.
And I know he can. He's a smart man. He's a smart businessman. He's got a couple great ideas he wants to do something with. So I think it was a blessing that it happened the way it did. But no, I mean, any situation we put ourselves in life, right? There's going to be times where it can bring us down a little bit, depending on the circumstances. And entrepreneurship is no different. I mean, you're a technical entrepreneur too, excuse me. You know what it's like. I mean, you have yourself and that's it, and you really have to, you can't slack off. You can't.
No, when you're self-employed,
you have to be the one doing it.
You got to grind and do
you
the work.
Grind,
I think one of the best examples of a tried, true, and tested entrepreneur that I know personally is Dan Martell. You know Dan Martell?
Sounds familiar.
Dan Martell is out of Kelowna, Canada, British Columbia, and he wrote the book Buy Back Your Time, and the guy is incredibly insightful on how to change the shape of your life by putting in only the time that is needed and not wasting time on endless tasks that don't get the job done, or people in your life, in your work environment, that aren't pulling their weight, or asking the question, if my employees aren't doing what I need them, what am I not doing to help them get to where they need to be or help them grow? He's really an incredible guy. And so is his wife, Renee. His wife, Renee, is an incredible woman. They're a great team. They're a team I kind of look up to. Really, actually do. So, another guy that does it really well, a couple other people, is Keaton Hoskins and Ed Milet. They are the champions of entrepreneurship, and they studied it to no end, and they continue to study it. And I'm learning to study it myself now from what they've done. And
that's how you grow. You have to be a constant learner, and you have to be willing to read the books, to get educated, to do the due diligence, to learn the new trades. What I'm learning to do, and this is a vulnerable conversation for me, is I'm learning not to be a Luddite anymore. You know, I'm learning technologies right now that help me in my editing of my media. I'm learning to delegate to people in my team so that I don't have to do that much of that, use that much of that technology, but I want to understand it. I want to know how to do it so that I know how to teach someone else how to do it so I can take it off my plate.
I think that's one of the most important things as an entrepreneur, depending on, no matter what your business is, you need to know how everything works and how everything's done.
If you're a CEO, as a CEO, you need to know how everything works, what everyone's job is to the T, and you need to know how to do it just like they can do it.
From the janitor to the person on the top, everything.
But at the moment you understand it, you delegate and you move on to more time pressing matters, and you spend a lot more time with the people you love, who need you to be there for them and with them, to support them, and to be the loving, whatever your relationship is to them. I did have a question for you, Aziz, that I wanted to kind of save to the end. And if this is too touchy of a subject, once again, we'll cut this out. You don't have to answer it. And what I'm saying is, if you don't want to answer this question, just say, no, Kevin can't go there. Have you ever loved anyone in your life, family, friend, confidant, colleague, cared about colleague, that really struggle with their brain and mental health? You don't have to name the person. You don't have to say what they're going through, but have you ever dealt with someone directly that has struggled mentally, besides your dad, who might have struggled with the whole closing of the restaurant thing, that really genuinely struggled with their mental health? And if you had or have or still are, what are you doing to try to help them?
No, I have. There was a friend of mine a while ago. We're not going to say names, but he was struggling with substance abuse, and he was neglected as a child, as a baby. He was kind of an accident, and his mom didn't really give him that contact comfort.
You have to have
that. You need that.
Remind me about
comfort.
that. We'll talk about that later.
Definitely. But so he didn't have that, and he knows he didn't have that, and he was still a stand-up guy, you know. But somehow he started doing drugs, and it just led him down a bad way. And I was the last friend that he had out of our friends that we knew that was still trying to help him, because I know there was some mental health issues there. I don't think it was addressed or diagnosed or he actually knew, but I know there's a hole in your heart, and it's not just in your heart. There's something,
void.
The void, and it affects your brain chemistry, it affects your mental health, because you didn't have that. Even though his parents do love him and they let him know that, but there was a long period of time where he was left by himself.
So before you go any further, they studied chimpanzees who, after they were born, they took them from the mother and placed them in separate cages. Chimpanzees that were with the mother and nursed by the mother chimp, lived longer, fought harder, were more resilient, and were happy.
The rhesus monkey, same thing.
The chimpanzee that was taken away at birth died of brain damage.
Did you ever see the rhesus monkey study they did?
No.
So that was similar. The rhesus monkey, they said, like in the brain-wise, is one of the most similar to humans. And
really?
Yeah, and they did 2 experiments. It's like in the 70s, I think.
Maybe this was the rhesus monkey.
It could have been, but it's very similar. But it might be different, because what they did was, mimic a mother, they wrapped fur around a plastic bottle, and they had that one hold that. And the other one just had the plastic bottle.
And what happened to
the one that had the fake mom showed similar signs and growth as a normal mom. The one with the plastic one, it lashed out, it was violent, it wasn't happy, it had a lot of issues, and it
depression
was
almost?
Probably, yeah. So it just goes to show you how important that contact comfort is. So like I said, I was there. I feel like I was the last friend to try to help him out, but I could only do so much. But all I did was tell him that I'm there. I talked to him. We'd go out when he wanted to go somewhere. But I knew when he was ignoring me or trying to put guilt trip on me, I know it's because he's fighting substance abuse, and it's not really him, you know? So, all you could do is just tell someone you're there for them, I think. And you love them, and you're there to listen. And if there's anything that I could do to help you, let me know. You know, and I have someone else in my life now who I don't want to say names, but yeah, they're struggling with mental health. There's also like a bad relationship going on. There's probably some substance abuse going on. And all I can tell this person whenever I do speak with them is that, you know, I'm here for you. If you even need a ride to go to get the help, I will take you. You know, this person did try. That's the thing. They show signs of trying, and then they come back down. So I think that's the hard thing. That's the hard thing.
Addiction and
mental health,
substance use, mental health combination. It's so hard to break the habit of self-destruction.
And that's when it comes down to, when it boils down to it, the greatest, most successful people in the world, some of them have lost their battle to self-sabotage. People who are just coming up in the world trying to make a way in their life and their existence deal with self-sabotage. And addictions occur because of some kind of void and pain that you're unwilling to speak upon to get out of your system. Because when you speak about what you went through and what you're going through in a therapeutic setting or with peers or loved ones who care about you, and you do it on a regular basis, you're in essence purging it from your system. And that purging it from your system gives you some sense of relief. Even scientifically speaking, it does. But if you're unwilling to tell the truth about your pain, how then can you survive it and find ways to thrive? And so I think that people like my birth parents who died of alcoholism and drug use, do you think they wanted to do that? They didn't want to. They didn't want to die like that. They wanted to take care of their baby boy, but they couldn't. And so I was taken from them. I don't blame them for that. I did. I blamed them for a long time.
I can imagine, yeah. But...
And then I kind of grew up and I was like, they had no money. They had no feasible legal income. They had nobody supporting them. They abandoned their families, our family. They siloed themselves and they lost their battle. They did not want to die that way, but they could not break free from their addictions. And I think that we all too often in this country, the only two diseases we still blame people for are addiction, substance use, and mental illness. When they are encapsulated in it, they have no control. I think there's a level of empathy that we can have for someone like that, especially in our family, that we must show them that I'm not judging you for what you're doing, whether it's fentanyl, which is so dangerous, or opioids, or meth, or even cigarettes or weed at an exorbitant amount. I don't use any drugs personally, Aziz. I never have. I binge drank until blackout on the weekends, alcohol until on my 21st birthday, I quit alcohol because I got blackout drunk and I got alcohol poisoning for days. And that was it. I quit cold turkey, which is not recommended. It's dangerous. But I got any substance out of my life at 21, never entered back into my life. Not a sip of alcohol since then. I'm very proud of that. Because it's just anything that, in my opinion, that you tell me how you feel. Anything that inhibits your ability to make a decision that is safe and sound and just, I don't think you should be on. Anything that affects your mental stability, I don't think you should be on. Anything that has a bad connection to medication you're taking, you shouldn't be on. If it's an upper or a downer, I've already got enough of that in my life with bipolar depression. I don't need to fuck with any drugs. So I don't, but I don't judge people who recreationally drink or use things like marijuana. I don't judge them. That's their prerogative. My hope, my wish, and my prayer is that they would consider exiting that from their life, because it's in essence a vice. It's not needed to survive. What's needed to survive is water, food, and really basically structure over your body, a home, and connection and love. Yeah. So that's my opinion.
I'd love to hear yours.
I think you're right. I mean, there is a point where a substance will affect, if you can't, let's say you want to recreationally use a substance and you can't do it without it affecting those things wrecking around you, you shouldn't be doing that. But if you are able to, because I know addicts who they can't touch anything because they say as a joke, I'd go have a drink with you, but you'd have to be willing to rob a pharmacy with me after. You know what I mean? Because they can't stop once they have one drink, right? So if you are able to use a substance recreationally and not have it affect your life and ruin your life, again, no judgment. I may not be doing those things, but that's on you. That's fine.
I would say I would even go further and say illegal substance.
Illegal substance is better. Yes, that's true. Not illegal substance. Yeah, I don't, because I'm not a fan of illegal substances myself. I think if you want to smoke a little pot, if you want to drink a little alcohol, because even pot when it was illegal, is not the same as doing heroin.
I know. So yeah, right. So many people in my life that drink only on the weekends and not to get drunk. They just drink to taste a glass of wine. But then I talk to my friends like Dr. Daniel Amen, who goes, alcohol by itself is a toxin.
Very true.
And the toxin, however little you use it, is still eroding your brain. So like there's different schools of thought here. And all I'm saying is let's be open to talking.
Very true.
I'm not here on this podcast telling people what to do. Certainly not you, my friend.
No.
You're one of my best buddies in the whole world.
Thank you, brother.
I
Thank
love
you. I love you too,
and
man.
you wouldn't listen anyway. Well, okay, we've gone on quite a bit. We've covered a lot of ground. How we met, who had the best wedding. No, I'm kidding.
I think you did, Kev.
No.
I was at City Hall.
No, you had an incredible wedding.
I did.
I mean,
Well, and we'll have something else coming up soon. Yeah,
because I'm not going to be invited this time.
Yes, you will be. Yes, you will.
Pleasure. But we talked about me proposing to Margaret. That was a lackluster proposal at best, but the heart was there. We talked about loving some people that we know struggling mentally, and we talked about Deborah Shaw, her acting class. Shout out to Deborah. We talked about some of the most incredible entrepreneurs on the planet that are doing what they do best. Let's see, how do we wrap this up? I think, Aziz, what I'd love to hear from you now, if you could look right in that camera. Actually, this is your camera.
Oh, okay.
Look right in this camera. And I'm going to step off frame here and make sure these cameras are all still running.
Okay.
Before don't say anything until I check it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want you to do is look in there and tell the people you love that are struggling with the things they're struggling with, how much you love them and how much you want them to heal.
To the people that I know that are struggling, all I could say is that I may not have the answers, but I am here to be an ear to listen to be a shoulder to cry on, any other means necessary to help you get better and get on a track that you are happy with. Doesn't necessarily have to be what other people want or what society tells you is right or wrong. As long as you're happy, healthy, and you're taking care of yourself and you're on your feet. That doesn't mean you have to be making millions of dollars a year, but you're on your feet and you're doing something you love and you're happy. That's what we want to see, and we love you. And that's all we could do.